Hi everybody, thanks so much for joining us. My name is Bob Strachan. I'm a solutions architect here at AWS in the Language AI Services team.
Hi, this is Babu Srinivasan. I'm a senior solutions architect in the AI services team. Today, we're going to talk about Agent Assist solution, how you can add Agent Assist to your existing contact centers to better resolve customer issues and improve agent productivity. First, we will start with an overview of the contact center intelligence, CCI. What does it mean? And then we'll talk about the live call analytics solution with Agent Assist. Um, then we'll go into a quick demo of the solution itself, along with the technical architecture. We'll also show you how you can easily deploy the solution to your own AWS account and configure it. We'll then talk about how to set up the data for your Agent Assist solution. And this solution integrates, as I said, with any contact center, but we'll show you an example of how you can integrate it with a Genesis Cloud Platform. We'll also give you a set of resources that can help you get started on this. With that, the AWS Contact Center or CCI is a series of solutions designed for customers who want to add intelligence to their existing contact centers, but CCI itself is not a product or a service. It is focused on three main use cases: self-service, live call analytics with Agent Assist, and post-call analytics solution. These solutions are powered by a combination of AWS AI services for text-to-speech, translation, intelligent search, conversational AI, transcription, and language comprehension. First, let's talk about some of the contact center challenges, right? So, and then we'll show you how we solve them with different use cases. First, the long hold time. I'm sure many of you have experienced one time or the other when you make a call to a contact center, um, you're put on hold uh, until they find the right agent that can help you. Sometimes the calls get transferred to multiple agents trying to find the right agent. Obviously, not a good experience for customers. And also, sometimes the calls may not go well. The customers are not happy with the agent, service that they're getting from the support they're getting from the agent. But supervisors are not aware until later or until after the call is done. So there is no way of alerting supervisors on calls that are not going well so they can jump in and provide the help they need. Other times, agents are unable to find information quickly because they have to navigate so many internal systems and knowledge base articles to find information to answer customers' questions. So, which directly impacts their productivity and the overall customer experience. And some of the contact centers have call recording, thousands of call recordings. With the manual process, it is very difficult to analyze all of them to surface insights, to understand the business trends. And they have very limited visibility, right? Because it's very difficult to process all of those call recordings manually. So to address these contact center challenges, we have published a number of solutions using our AI services that address the three major use cases, starting with self-service virtual agents, then the live call analytics with Agent Assist, then the post-call analytics. With self-service, we try to answer calls without a live agent, basically trying to offload some of the repetitive queries to a virtual agent, saving time for the actual agents to address all the complex problems. We also want to reduce number of call transfers with intelligent routing so that the customer is routed to the right agent in the first place. Similarly, with the live call analytics and agent assist, we are able to alert supervisors when the calls are not going well. If let's say the sentiment of the customer is trending negative, we can alert a supervisor real time and have the supervisor jump into the call to assist the agents. Similarly, we can provide live agent assistance when the call is in progress, help agents to find the right information to answer customers' question, again, by using AI services. With post-call analytics solution, we are able to process recorded calls, 100% of the calls, using AI services and surface insights such as business trends, opportunities for coaching the agents, um, and also understand the agent performance and compliance. So today's session, we are going to focus on the live call analytics with agent assist capability. With that, we're going to show you how this solution can help find answers or find articles and knowledge base information to answer customers' questions very quickly. And this solution is powered by a number of AI services, starting with, let's say, Amazon Transcribe for speech to text. Amazon Comprehend can provide some of the natural language processing capabilities, including sentiment analysis. And Kendra will be Amazon Kendra service is used for the intelligent search. We have actually put together all of these services together already for you as a sample solution. We published it in GitHub that is available for you to deploy in your own account. Today we'll show you the demo of the solution as well as how to deploy the solution into your own account. But to give you an overview of the solution itself, starting with the live call analytics with supervisor monitoring, the sample solution comes with a UI that starts with a summary page where you see a list of all the calls that are both completed calls and in progress ones. And you can quickly see the caller sentiment trend. And supervisors can easily find the calls that are not going well if the trend sentiment trend is going down, and can get into the call quickly to provide assistance to the agents. And not only just look at the summary, but also a call detail page is also available for supervisors to take a look at all the call characteristics as well as the sentiment trend live. They can also look at all the call transcripts. That way, when agent or the supervisor gets into the call to assist the agent, they're able to review all the call transcripts up front and provide the assistance needed in the call. We have now added the agent assist capability to the live call analytics solution, which helps agents with relevant knowledge and suggested responses from knowledge base systems, both internal and external sources. You're able to set up this solution with a number of different types of responses. It can be a simple hard-coded question and answer static response, or it could be as complex as a your own custom business logic written in a, let's say, Lambda. Lambda is our serverless function that helps you code your backend business logic in it. Or it can be a context-aware Q&A where the agent assist solution is able to find answers based on the context from previous conversations. We also have integrations with intelligent search engines such as Amazon Kendra, which can go search knowledge base articles based on natural language queries and render that information on agent's desktop to provide assistance to the agents. The agents are then able to use this information real time to answer customers' question quickly. So with that, we'll now jump to the actual demo of the solution. Over to you, Bob.
So we're going to give you the demo of live call analytics with Agent Assist. I'm going to be the caller in this scenario. I'm going to be calling Babu's contact center. Babu is the agent. So when I call, I'm going to make a phone call with my cell phone here. You're going to hear the phone ringing. Babu is going to pick it up using a soft phone on his computer. And I'm going to play the part of the caller. Babu is sharing his screen, so you'll be able to see the Agent Assist messages, the transcriptions coming up, the sentiment, all the different things that live call analytics does as we have this telephone call. I do want to tell you a couple of things to look out for during the demo. It is a scripted demo, by the way. We don't yet have this architecture robust enough to handle any conversation any caller might make to any contact center. This is very much a scripted scenario that we have set up. All of the components involved that we're going to talk later are highly configurable, and it's something that when you install the solution, you can configure the behavior to work for the types of intents and the types of questions that your callers might ask. But right now it is a script, so just be aware that as we go through this, we're we're effectively reading from a script. As I say things as a caller, you will see my words appear as a real-time transcription in Babu's screen, and then occasionally you're also going to see these messages that are kind of highlighted in a blue shade that are the agent assistant messages. You'll see those, and those messages are designed to give Babu, who's the agent, some assistance basically on how he could best respond to me. And there's a couple of different contexts here. One is the agent assist messages will sometimes tell Babu to request additional information from me, the caller. So basically, advising him to enlist additional details that will then be captured and used later on in the conversation to better address types of questions that I might have. Because callers tend not to ask questions with all of the information self-contained in one sentence. They tend to spread their information across multiple turns of the conversation. So here we're going to demonstrate how we can collect information during the conversation in order to have that context so that we can better answer the questions when they come. You're also going to see an example of a transaction. I'm going to ask Babu to pay my credit card bill during this demo, and you'll see how the agent assist can guide Babu through interacting with me to pay that bill. In fact, the bill could even be paid by the system automatically. So it's not just advising the agent, but we could also integrate automatic fulfillment of the caller's intents in there. And then you're also going to see some examples of where I ask questions that can be answered just directly from our knowledge-based system. As Babu mentioned, we're using Amazon Kendra, so it's going to look up and try and find the best answer from Amazon Kendra, whether that be from an FAQ that we have pre-populated or whether it be from an unstructured documents. In this case, it'll be web pages that we have crawled into the Kendra index. So look out for all of those things as we go through the demo, and then we'll go back over it and reinforce what you've just seen. So I'm going to go ahead now and make the phone call.
Hello, thanks for calling Acme Bank. My name is Babu. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling about my rewards card.
Excellent. Give me a second to look up your customer account. For verification purposes, can you please state your first name?
My first name is Bob.
One moment while we verify that your name matches our records. It matches. Perfect. Hi, Bob. How can I help you with your rewards card?
I was wondering, what is the cashback rate for this card?
I'm looking that up for you now. Yes, I see here that the rewards card has a 2% cashback rate on your everyday spending. Did that answer your question? Anything else I can help you with today?
Yes, thanks. Can I pay my card bill now while I'm on the phone?
Yes, absolutely. We can process your payment over the phone. Give me a second to set that up. Can you please confirm the last 4 digits of your card number?
Yes, it's 1234.
Got it. 1234. Great. I see that your card balance is $75.54. How much do you want to pay? There is a $50 minimum payment.
I'll pay $50.
Okay, I'm entering payment for $50. Which account do you want to pay that from? Your savings account or your checking account?
My checking account.
Your checking account. Perfect. One moment, please. Great. So I have processed payment of $50 from your checking account. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Can you tell me what kind of life insurance policies you have?
Yes, of course. I'm just pulling up our latest life insurance policy information now. We offer many types of term life insurance and permanent life insurance, including whole life, universal life, endowment policies, accidental death policies, and more.
Interesting. What is an endowment policy?
Let me look that up for you now. It's a life insurance contract designed to pay a lump sum after a specific term on its maturity or on death. Typical maturities are 10, 15, or 20 years up to a certain age limit. Let me send you some information. Let's schedule a chat with one of our insurance specialists. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great. Thanks.
Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Nothing else just now. You've been a big help. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'm very glad to hear you say that I was able to help you today. Thanks,
Thank you.
Bob. We appreciate your business. Check out our website at acmebank.com to learn more about our products, and feel free to call back if you have additional questions. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
All right, so that was our demo. Let's take a look now at what you just saw. So here I have opened up the same screen that Babu was looking at while he was taking my call. This is our call detail page. You can see summary information about the call. Since the call is over now, there's actually the ability to play back a recording. I can click the little play button here. You probably can't hear that on the webcast, but when I click the play button, it actually plays back the audio recording of the phone call that we just have. Here you can see some graphs that show the sentiment trend during the call. You can see that we ended up here on a high note. I was very happy at the end of the call, so that's good. And you can kind of see quarter by quarter during the call. If I had started off unhappy, we would have seen this line going down low, finish up happy, and that's what you want to see. You want to see a call with a trajectory heading upwards in terms of caller sentiment. But then the transcript itself. So you notice during the call, the transcripts were coming in live. So as I spoke and as Babu spoke, you could see the actual words that we were saying being transcribed live on the call. And here's our first example of the agent assistant message that we wanted to show you. So here the agent assistant is listening all the time to what the caller is saying. And this utterance here triggered what we call an intent in agent assistance. So it recognized I'm calling about the reward card. It knew that the very next thing that Babu was going to need to know is, what's my name? I already had a good guess at my name from the caller ID because you'll notice it knew the number I was calling from. So for verification purposes, it just wants to make sure that my name is what the system thinks that it should be. So I mentioned that my name is Bob, and the thing comes back and says, perfect. Hi, Bob. How can I help you with your rewards card? Again, this is advice from the agent assistant to Babu, who's the agent, and Babu kind of relayed that information back to me, the caller, saying, how can I help you with the rewards card? Okay, so here is where I ask a question that could not be answered without some context that we gathered from earlier in the conversation. I just said, what's the cashback rate for this card? But the bank may offer multiple types of cards. Earlier in the conversation, you'll remember I said that it was the rewards card that I was calling about, and the system actually picked that information up. We use something called Lex slots to handle that, but we don't need to worry about that detail. It remembers the fact that I'm calling about my rewards card. You can see it even referenced that fact in the earlier agent assist message. But because it knows I'm calling about the reward card, now it knows how to answer this question where I just said this card, and the agent assistant message looks up the answer to the question, taking into account the context that it's the rewards card, and comes back and says the rewards card has a 2% cashback rate. If I'd said I was calling about a different type of card, I would have gotten a different answer at this point. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and Babu relays that information to me now that he knows the answer from the agent assist message. Okay, so now he asked me, is there anything else that I can help with? And this is where we're going to do a transaction that could be completely automated. Now, obviously, this is just a demo, but you'll get a sense for how we're collecting information from the caller. We're capturing that information in the system. Could be configured to automate the fulfillment of this transaction if we wanted to in the real world. So since I asked here, can I pay my card bill now? Again, the agent assistant advises Babu to ask me what the last 4 digits of my card number are. So that's what he does. I say, yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. The agent assistant is listening. It captures that information and it knows it needs more information from me now. It needs to know how much I want to pay. Informs me there's a $50 minimum. Again, Babu relays that information to me. I mentioned that I want to pay the $50. And you get the idea here. The last piece of information is which account do I want to pay from. Again, Babu relays that question to me. I mentioned that it's my checking account. And now the agent assistant confirms that it has all the information that Babu needs to complete the transaction. And this is where Babu would press whatever buttons he needs on his end to complete the transaction. Or potentially the agent assistant could be coded to automate that automatically, since it already has all the information. With some back-end integration, it could complete the fulfillment of that transaction. Okay, so this is another example of agent assist eliciting information and potentially automating a transaction. Okay, so then Babu goes on to ask, did I have any other questions, anything else you can help with? And this is where I just ask a simple question, wondering what sort of life insurance policies you have. And this is a fairly straightforward example of where that question I asked is just relayed in the back end to Amazon Kendra. And it so happens we have a frequently asked question in the Amazon Kendra index that knows the answer to what types of life insurance policies we offer. And this is an answer we come back. So this is a curated FAQ. And in just a little bit, I'm going to show you how we configure all of this stuff, how you create FAQs and add them to the Kendra index very easily. I'll show you that in just a little bit. Okay, so this is an FAQ answer. And then the very final example is where I ask yet another question, what is an endowment policy? In this case, we didn't have any FAQs and we didn't have any pre-configured intents. This was a question that we had not anticipated in terms of pre-curated answers. But we do have some web pages that we had crawled using Amazon Kendra, including a web page that knows the answer to this question. So here we were able to send the user's question to Kendra and get a very high confidence answer back that, here is an answer from in this case, it's from a Wikipedia page that tells me what an endowment policy is. Okay, and Babu is able to relay a summary of that information and answer my question. Okay, and that's pretty much the demo. I think we had one more little wrap-up message at the end, but that's the Agent Assist in action. Like I mentioned before, this is a scripted demo. I'm going to show you in a second how any of you guys could install this architecture for yourselves and do exactly the same demo. So this is very accessible. Any of you within an hour could set this system up, and with the help of a friend who acts as the agent, you can make a phone call to your own little contact center and see all of this in action for yourself, and we encourage you to do that. So while we're still on this page, let me quickly show you some of the sentiment analytics that Live Call Analytics produces for you as well. Here you can see a graph that shows us the sentiment of turn by turn of the conversation. And over on this chart, we can actually see it smoothed out a little bit where we've got 4 data points showing the sentiment of each quarter of the conversation. This is less noisy. It shows you more of the overall trends, which is what you want to pay attention with. And ideally, what you'll look for is a trending upwards of sentiment. You certainly don't want to see customer sentiment or caller sentiment trending downwards towards the end of the call, because that means they're leaving the call unhappy. This demo doesn't actually focus a lot on sentiment. It focuses more on the agent advice. But when you install LCA for yourselves, experiment. Try playing the role of an angry customer calling up to complain about something, and during the call, the agent manages to address their problem, and by the end of the call, they're happy campers. And you should be able to see, a negative sentiment at the beginning of the call trending towards a positive sentiment at the end. Or you can try it the other way around if you want to see a trending down sentiment, which is what you wouldn't want to see in the real world. So try it out for yourselves. You'll notice here that the sentiment did go down a little bit in the middle of the call. Let's see why that is if we scroll back up. Let's see. Yeah, it's because the caller said, I'll pay $50. We're using Amazon Comprehend to do sentiment analysis, and I guess having to pay $50 is a negative sentiment. But you only see that in the turn-by-turn sentiment when we smooth it out over the course of the call. It gets averaged out. So it's the predominant sentiment that you want to pay attention to and not individual phrases. Okay, so I'm going to switch now and show you how this all works behind the scenes. Okay, so I don't want you to be afraid. There's a lot of boxes and strings in this. There's a lot of different AWS services being used. The nice thing about this open source solution, the Live Call Analytics, is that all of this stuff gets configured in your account for you automatically when you install the solution. And I'm going to show you how easy that is in just a second. But before I do that, I just wanted to kind of show you an overview of what's going on behind the scenes when Babu and I did this demo. So whenever you install the solution in your account, it creates like a little mini contact center for you, just for demo purposes. We use an open source product called Asterisk to create a little demonstration PBX. It runs on an EC2 instance in your account. You wouldn't use this in the real world. You'd use your real contact center, which we also can integrate LCA to very easily. But for the demo purposes, we actually set this up for you so that you actually have a phone number that you can ring whenever the solution's installed. And that's exactly what we did. Babu installed the solution in his account. He got a phone number. He told me the phone number, and I dialed it. And it relayed to a soft phone on his end. So he was able to be the agent. I was able to be the caller. Now, the audio of that conversation comes through some components. We call it the Chime voice connector. This provides the audio streaming through Kinesis video streams to a layer that we call the call processing layer, where we have an AWS Lambda function that picks up those audio fragments in real time from the Kinesis video streams and it will send it to Amazon Transcribe and get real-time transcriptions back from Amazon Transcribe. And as those real-time transcriptions come back, it publishes them to a Kinesis data stream. We have alternate versions of this audio ingestion. Again, this is the one that we just used for the demo with the Asterisk server. But we also have one where you can use Chime Voice Connector in SIP-RAC mode to connect to any other contact center using the SIP-RAC protocol, which is a standards-based telephony protocol for forking off audio streams. We also have an API to Genesis Cloud that Babu is going to show you a little bit more about later. So there's various alternatives that you can deploy when you install the stack for this top part, the call ingestion part of the stack. But they all end up feeding transcriptions into these Kinesis data streams. The Kinesis data stream then makes the subscriptions. It's like a pub sub thing. So we have this subscriber, we call it the enrichment layer Lambda function, that subscribes to these real-time transcription events that are coming in through Kinesis data. And this is where we do the magic around creating the analytics on the calls. This is where we do sentiment analysis. When you saw the little sad faces or smiley faces and the sentiment graphs, that's because we're calling Amazon Comprehend, which provides a bunch of pre-trained APIs, but one of them is to do sentiment analysis on a piece of text. And it comes back and it says whether the sentiment is positive, negative, neutral, or mixed. And that's what we're using here. So for each turn of the conversation, the Amazon Comprehend is being used to detect a sentiment. The Agent Assist also hooks into this point. So you can see here below, we have this box called Agent Assist. And there are different ways that people might want to implement the Agent Assist functionality. Out of the box, we have implemented a solution using Amazon Lex, Amazon Kendra, and we orchestrate it all using another open source solution that we have called the AWS Q&A bot project. Q&A bot provides some very convenient features, including a content designer user interface that I'll show you in just a little bit, where all of the behavior can be configured from one administrative UI. This is where we configure intents for Lex and FAQs for Kendra. So it's one kind of like a one-stop shop for configuring how you want Agent Assist to behave. And whenever you folks install this solution, which I hope you do, and you want to make it do something other than the built-in demo that we just showed you, you maybe want to make it work for your own use cases and add your own FAQs or your own types of transactions. This is the easiest way to get going. It's just use this AWS Q&A bot designer. It orchestrates Lex and Kendra for you behind the scenes. And we've got a little tutorial that kind of guides you through how to do that so that you can make this your own and build your own demos. And then build a production solution for Agent Assist at some point. So the transcript processor that we talked about, it interacts with this layer and basically sends what the caller says. It's basically paying attention to the caller. It ignores the agent altogether, actually, and it's only looking at what the caller is saying here in terms of interacting with this Agent Assist. And based on what the caller is saying, it will come back with a message to be displayed to the agent. Sometimes it doesn't come back with an agent because the caller says something that doesn't match any of the pre-configured intents that we've built into the system and doesn't match any FAQs and doesn't have a good answer from the Kendra index. Like if there's no web pages that have a very high confidence answer, then there is no Agent Assist message. And I think you saw some examples of that where the caller says something that just doesn't create an Agent Assist. But if there's an actual message that comes back with a sufficiently high confidence, then that gets added in line to the transcript, just as you saw, and sent to the agent via this real-time front end that we have here using AWS AppSync to create a real-time GraphQL API to the web browser that is being updated, as you just saw, in real time. So all of this happens, everything I just described happens contemporaneously during the call. So that's why everything is very fast and happens during the course of the call. Okay, hopefully that made sense. Again, if this seems complicated, don't worry about it because it all gets installed automatically whenever we install the solution for you. Okay, so that's a good segue for me to show you how to deploy the solution. Let me go back here. We have a blog post for this whole solution. This is your main entry point, actually. If you want to learn more about live call analytics, you should go to our blog. We have a URL that is really easy to remember. It's literally just amazon.com/live call analytics. Very easy. You can make a note of it now, and I think we're going to show it again at the end of the talk. So this link redirects you to our blog post where it explains the architecture that we just saw, and it gives you some links for how you can install this for yourself. So if you scroll down the blog post a little bit, you'll see that it gives an overview of the solution. It shows you some screenshots. It's got a list of all the features that we currently support. This is the important part here. This is where you can actually launch the CloudFormation stack in your own AWS account in order to basically repeat the demo that Babu and I just showed you. You can do this very easily. You click the button. If you already have an AWS account, it will ask you to log into it. If you're already logged into it, it's going to take you straight to this page within the AWS CloudFormation section of the AWS console. And this is where you can launch, basically install the solution that we just saw. So it asks you for a stack name, which you can just leave as default. This is the one mandatory field that you have to enter here, which is your email address. It's essential that you enter a valid email address here because during the installation, the solution is going to send you an email with temporary credentials. It's going to send you a temporary password that you will use to log into the user interface for the first time, and then you'll get a chance to reset that password once you log in the first time. But you have to give it a valid email address in order to get that first email, otherwise you'll never be able to log in. Optionally, you can also give it an authorized email domain if you want other people to be able to create accounts on there as well. So, for example, Babu and I both work for Amazon.com. If I was to put an Amazon.com here, then any of my colleagues who also have an Amazon.com email address could create their own accounts using the user interface later on. You can leave it blank if you don't want anybody to be able to create their account, anybody in your company to be able to create an account. Otherwise, put in the company domain name there, and others can create their own account. So earlier I was talking about how we have different telephony ingestion options. The architecture diagram, remember, was showing the demo asterisk server. And that's the default. If you install it without changing anything, you're going to get the demo asterisk PBX server, which will install the architecture I just showed you. But there are some options here. You can choose to go with Chime Voice Connector, which is SIP-RAC. So if you have a contact center that supports the SIP-RAC protocol through session border controllers, you can enable this option and then configure your session border controller to send SIP-RAC messages to the Chime Voice Connector. And all of the information you need is output at the end of the stack install. So you can configure your own contact center to send audio to this solution. That audio will then be sent, just like the asterisk audio was, into the Kinesis video streams and transcribed in much the same way that the demo call we just had worked. If you're a user of Genesys Cloud contact centers, we have a very nice integration now with Genesys Cloud using their new Audio Hook WebSocket API. This is very easy to set up if you're a Genesys Cloud customer. So you can choose this option, and then when you install Live Call Analytics, it actually sets up all of the infrastructure you need to provide a WebSocket, and it gives you the URL for that WebSocket, along with some key information you need to have to configure into your Genesys IVR system, and that basically integrates Genesys with this solution, so you can get all of the audio for the calls to your Genesys contact center sent into the solution, where it will be transcribed in exactly the same way that we just saw from the demo setup. So all of the same capabilities would apply. And then finally, we've just added this new integration for Amazon Connect Contact Lens. So if you're using Amazon Connect already, you know that Contact Lens already gives you transcriptions. There's real-time Contact Lens that already gives you transcriptions and sentiment in real time. But we added this integration to LCA in case you wanted to try the Agent Assist capabilities with Connect. So this allows you very easily to integrate with an existing Amazon Connect call center as well, so that you can use the Agent Assist capabilities with Amazon Connect calls. And we've provided additional information on how to set that up. But most of it's automated. Like if you're using Connect, you just apply the Amazon resource name of your Connect instance here, and we automate the integration for you. It's all very straightforward, and all of this is explained in detail in the blog post. So that's the options for telephony ingestion. The next section here is the Agent Assist options. Again, the default will give you exactly what we just showed you in our demo. This is the Agent Assist using the AWS Q&A bot solution, which includes a new Kendra index that will be created in your account for you. And we use the Kendra Developer Edition by default because we assume you're setting up a demonstration initially. If you're going to put this into production, you would want to use this option here to use the Kendra Index Enterprise Edition, which gives you greater scale at a bit more cost, but it gives you a lot more scale and ability to handle more documents, etc. You don't actually have to use AWS Q&A bot, by the way. You can also, if you want, bring your own Lex v2 bot. Using the AWS Q&A bot with Kendra what it does is it creates a lax bot for you behind the scenes, and it gives you a nice user interface for configuring everything. But maybe you have your own lax bot that you want to use to implement these agent assist capabilities, and this is all perfectly fine. If you choose this option, then you can just provide the identity of your lax v2 bot down here. You give it the bot ID and the bot alias, and it won't install anything else for you during the installation, but it will integrate automatically with your lax v2 bot using this bot ID and alias that you provided, and your bot will now provide the right responses based on the caller's utterances. And finally, if you have other custom logic you want to implement, maybe you've got your own knowledge base, maybe you've got your own chatbot system or some other mechanism, some other API that you want to use to advise the agent based on the utterances of the caller. We provided this extensibility mechanism here where all you have to do is write an AWS Lambda function with your own business logic in there. So this could be a Lambda function that just calls your own APIs, searches your own knowledge base, and we will invoke that Lambda function for you during the conversations. So the caller's utterances are going to get sent as a parameter to this Lambda function that you provide, and you tell us the Lambda function using this parameter here. You give it the ARN of the Lambda function that you've already provided. We will call your Lambda function, we'll pass it information about what the caller just said, and other information that we have, such as caller IDs and other pieces of metadata that we've collected about the telephone call. And then your Lambda function can do whatever magic it needs to do behind the scenes to return a message. And if it doesn't return a message, then we won't display any agent assist. But if there's something that you want to display, just return that as the result of the Lambda function, and the live call analytics solution will display that instead. So you can see this mechanism is designed to be very extensible. We can make it all work out of the box, or you can provide your own customized components to make it work the way you want it to work. Okay, again, if you want to just do the same demo that Babu and I did, just leave the defaults to the AWS Q&A bot with Kendra. When you do that, we set it all up by default. The Q&A bot, Kendra is installed, and we configure some demo examples in there with predefined intents and predefined web pages that we've crawled into the Kendra index. And then you can ignore all the other settings if you want to, but I'll just quickly talk you through some of the possibilities here. You can provide your own S3 buckets if you want. You can choose whether you want to redact calls. I advise that you leave redaction set to false for now if you want agent assist to work. If we enable redaction here, you turn that to true, then it will redact personally identifiable information, but unfortunately that includes things like people's names and credit card numbers, which might break your agent assist demos, because we actually need that information to be unredacted in order to pass it through to agent assist. This is something that in future releases we will have the option of redacting the information that gets sent to the user interface while still keeping unredacted information that can be sent to the agent assist layer. But for now, that we don't have the ability to do both like that. So it's best if you want to use agent assist to leave redaction set to false. You can make it work in different languages. You can choose the types of redaction you want. Again, for agent assist, you probably want to leave that at the defaults and have redaction turned off. If you find that you're using custom vocabulary, like domain names, words that are very specific to your business, you can improve the transcription accuracy using transcribed custom vocabularies. That's a whole other topic, but this basically allows you to use the advanced features of Amazon Transcribe to improve transcription accuracy, where you have a lot of kind of uncommon verbs or vocabulary that you use in your business. And then there's a few other settings that largely you can ignore. You go down here, you click the two little acknowledge boxes, and you click create stack, and it's going to go off and create all of the architecture for you. And when it's done, it's going to come back with a status of create complete, like you see here, and there will be an outputs tab that shows you the URLs that you need to access the user interface. You can see we have two main user interfaces here. We have the Q&A bot content designer that I referred to earlier. This is the web application that you can use to configure all of the behavior of the agent assist capability. And then we have the actual LCA application cloud front endpoint. So this one at the top is the user interface that we already showed you during our demo. This is the one where you see the live call transcriptions and the agent assist messages coming in. This other one about content designer I have not showed you yet, although I have mentioned it a few times. So here it is here. Okay, so we've just launched the Q&A bot content designer user interface. Think of this as a front end to both Lex and Kendra. We can configure behavior here that it is going to map to a Lex chatbot behind the scenes, or behavior that maps to a Kendra index behind the scenes. And I'm going to show you both kinds of examples. This user interface just basically makes it easy to configure both Lex and Kendra together from one place. So here's the example of where we configured the very first agent assist message that you saw, where I called and said, hi, I'm calling about my rewards card. These little example questions or utterances here, these are examples of the types of things that a caller might say. It doesn't have to be exhaustive. It's always good to provide a few examples of the way people might phrase a particular intent, just to train the LexBot. But the LexBot uses natural language models to try and understand the semantic of what people are saying. So you don't have to provide like an exhaustive list of possible utterances. You just provide a few examples. Here you'll see that I did not hard code rewards card. In fact, I've got this little syntax here with the curly braces. This is called a slot in Lex vernacular. It basically says, whatever the caller says here, capture it as a variable, the card type variable, and then we can use it later on in the conversation. So when I say I'm calling about my rewards card, it actually captures the fact that the card type is a rewards card. And then I can use it later. For example, down here, you can see I'm actually referring to the value of that card type whenever I provide the answer back to the agent assist, the answer back for the agent assist message. If I go a little bit further down the page here, you can see that this particular intent has two slots. We have the card type that we just talked about. It was able to capture the value of card type automatically from my initial sentence because I actually volunteered that information. I said I'm calling about my rewards card. But it also needs to know my first name. And since this is a required slot type, it comes up with a prompt. See the prompt here? This is where the agent is now advised you need to ask the caller what the first name is. And this is the message that you saw. I think this was the very first agent assist message that you saw coming up on the screen. Here it is here. Ask caller to state their first name only for verification purposes. Okay, so that was the slot prompt. Once I mentioned that my first name is Bob, the system now has a value for the first name slot as well as the card type slot, and it's now able to come back with the second agent assist message we saw, which was, suggested response, perfect hi, Bob. It substitutes the first name slot into the message. How can I help you with your rewards card? If I go back and look at the transcript, you can see that's exactly what it says. Perfect, hi Bob, how can I help you with your rewards card? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So basically I'm defining here using the Q&A bot user interface, I'm defining a Lex intent, and I can rebuild my Lex bot at any time by going up here and clicking Lex rebuild, and that's going to recreate the Lex bot behind the scenes. So this is just a convenience. So all the hard work has been done by Lex behind the scenes, but this allows me to configure it right from here. Similarly, I can build frequently asked questions for Amazon Kendra from this same user interface. Here's an example here is, do you offer life insurance policies? Let's open that one up. Again, I can provide examples of the way people might phrase that question. I provided 3 different examples here. Sometimes you don't need as many. You can put in 1 or 2 or 3, if people are phrasing the questions very differently. But this doesn't have to be exact. It's the same point I made earlier with Lex. Kendra is using natural language models behind the scenes to do semantic similarity tests. So it's actually trying to understand the meaning of what you're saying and trying to find the answers that best match that meaning. So this doesn't have to be an exact match with what the caller says. And so you can put in a few examples there of the way the caller might phrase something. And then you put the answer into this answer field. And that, again, was the answer that got returned as the agent assist message whenever I asked about the life insurance. Where is it? There we go. What types of life insurance policy do you have? And there's the answer. So this is really very easy to configure. If I wanted to provide a different answer, I just go in here, I literally edit it right here and click the update button. And then go up here and click Sync Kendra FAQ. So you can manipulate content that maps to Lex, you can manipulate content that maps to Kendra, and you can synchronize with both Lex and Kendra and control the entire agent assist behavior from this one screen. Okay, the last example I think of an agent assist message that I showed you in the demo was when I asked a question that did not map to any of those pre-configured intents or FAQs that we just saw in Q&A bot. This was the one here where I said, interesting, what is an endowment policy? There's nothing in here that is configured to answer that question. However, we do send that question to Kendra to see if it knows an answer from unstructured information that we have loaded into the index. And in this particular demo setup, we automatically configure it to crawl a couple of Wikipedia pages. These are just public website pages from Wikipedia. There's a life insurance page. There's a mortgage loan. So when you install the system with the demo, it automatically crawls these. That question, since it didn't map one of the pre-configured items here, it just gets sent to Kendra to see if Kendra knows the answer. And in this case, Kendra did know the answer. It had a high confidence answer for the question based on doing the natural language search against the Wikipedia pages. And that's one of the beautiful things about Kendra. We call it our intelligent search service. So it can try and find an answer to a question in the midst of documents that you can bring from multiple data sources. Here, these are Wikipedia pages, but it supports PDF documents, Word documents, Salesforce, GitHub, many different Slack channels even. There's a wide variety of different data source connectors for Kendra that you can use to populate your Kendra index and then use that as a knowledge base for your agent assist. So hopefully that made sense. Okay, so now we have shown you how to install the solution. We've shown you how the solution works. We've shown you how to configure using AWS Q&A bot. I'm going to transition back to Babu now, who's going to tell you a little bit more about how to integrate the solution with Genesis. Over to you, Babu.
Thanks, Bob. So yeah, as Bob talked about it in detail in terms of the number of audio ingestion source options, this solution can integrate with any contact center using SIFRAC chain voice connector, and we also have provided a demo PBX server using Asterisk. But you can also integrate with, let's say, WebSocket-based protocol. So here we have an example of such integration. Uses Genesis Cloud Platform's Audio Hook protocol, which was published recently. And Genesis is one of the CCI partners that provide contact centers both on premises as well as on cloud. And this Genesis Audio Hook protocol provides a real-time voice stream from the Genesis Cloud Contact Center platform, makes it available to the third-party applications via over basically WebSocket protocol. As long as you can develop a WebSocket server that can consume the audio stream, we should be able to then use that audio stream to do the live call analytics. As I said, this uses WebSocket over TLS, and it is designed to make it easy to implement servers that can process this protocol. So let's take a quick look at the architecture itself. So what you see here is the live call analytics solution architecture that Bob already reviewed. We just replaced the audio ingestion part alone. The demo that we showed you used audio ingestion from PBX server. Here, the audio is coming from Genesis Cloud Platform. The audio is streamed via the Audio Hook protocol. This protocol is used both for call audio streams as well as the call signaling events, like start of the call, end of the call, and a number of other WebSocket events. We then consume the audio stream and the events via a WebSocket server that's deployed on AWS Fargate, and which then calls the transcript to do the transcriptions and writes out the transcriptions to KDS, Kinesis data streams. From that point onwards, the architecture is the same set of capabilities in terms of live turn-by-turn transcripts, sentiment analysis, the agent assist, and whatever we just saw. All of those capabilities are available. It's just that the ingestion mechanism, that the audio source is different, right? It works for Genesis Cloud audio streams. So how do we get started? So we have included a number of resources. Bob already showed you links to live call analytics blog post where you can deploy the solution from. And of course, if you help, there's contact us for subject matter experts to help you with, let's say, a proof of concept Also leverage a number of our CCI partners. They're documented on our CCI webpage. A link to the webpage is also provided in the slide. With that, that concludes our presentation, but we also included additional information in terms of the resources that you can leverage, links to various blog posts and our websites, some of the customer references that you should be able to look up. And we'll share this. We will share the links to all these resources on this slide deck right after the webinar.
Very good. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate your time, and please do install it for yourself. Let us know what you think.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.